Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you are watching us on whatever device. This is hello and welcome from Berlin, from the Meistersaal to the Aero Days 2020, and we're getting started with the first day. That's the Berlin Aviation Summit.
We hope you enjoyed this brief flight from Romania to Germany, from Bucharest to Berlin, specifically in the spirit of the Tandem Aero Days 1920. Thank you for joining us.
We, the moderators, are here physically and live. It's a hybrid event, and we're waiting a couple of participants actually on stage, but most of us will be joining us from their offices, from remote. And you know that the pandemic hasn't just changed the way that we do conferences. It's also changed fundamentally the industry that we are talking about today. The aeronautics industry has probably been one of the hardest hit by the changes in the last 12 months and by the international responses to it. Flights were down to a minimum in the first international lockdown phase, and now in the second, the next dents appear, and that is hitting a business that seemed to have been ever growing.
And if you look at the numbers, and you frankly know the numbers better than we do, across Germany, across all airports, international travel in October was down a mind-boggling 93%. The IATA is estimating that every month the industry is losing $13 billion US. That translates into a loss of $300,000 per minute, or for this event that's scheduled to last 5 hours, that translates into a loss of $90 million. That buys you 1 or 2 narrow-body jets from Airbus or Boeing, depending on how many you buy. But there is a bit of a silver lining, of course. We have seen countries, Singapore last week said German business travelers can apply to come back. The UK plans to cut its quarantine rules from 14 to 5 days if you can produce a negative test, and airports are introducing biometric identification system so that the travel process becomes more touchless. That's all good news, and of course the EASA also literally just said a few minutes ago that it started the official process to get the Boeing 737 MAX recertified. Now that will be good news, especially for one of the interview partners you'll be speaking with.
Absolutely. I'm quite sure that Sir Arthur is going to be quite excited, and we're going to talk to him in about an hour's time. At the same time, when we sort of take a step back and look at the industry again, we are observing a paradigm shift. Technological mainstays that have been there for the last 50 years are undergoing review at the same time as climate action demands and forces the industry to urgently review propulsion materials. A lot to discuss, and we are excited to meet our interview partners.
And we, that is Conny Chimok, moderator of international events these days, mostly hybrid, of course, specializing in climate change, sustainability, and mobility.
Thank you, Richard. And to my left is Richard Weiss, company news reporter at Bloomberg News. He has 20 years of experience in writing and presenting, and he's got a soft spot for the aviation industry.
So we will hopefully present you with some snappy interviews in the next 5 hours or so, highlighting all aspects of these dramatically changing incidences and environment for all things with wings.
And I was actually waiting for the trailer that was supposed to have come here, but sometimes this is the new normal. Things that you expect to happen don't happen, but other things. You see already 2 people on the line, and there is one gentleman on my right, and all of them are going to do the opening together with me. Now, first of all, let me just address, ladies and gentlemen, the gentleman that has been the driving force behind last year's event, and I would like to invite to give opening words of greeting to Dr. Catalin. He is the CEO of INCAS, the head of the project Aerodays 2019 in Romania. Sir, please take it away.
Thank you. Dear colleagues, dear friends of aviation, I am delighted to welcome you to the second edition of Berlin Aviation Summit, this year as an integrated part of the 8th edition of Aerodays, where on behalf of the INCAS, partner of this high-level event, I'm looking forward to meet my colleagues from the aerospace field and to participate to the Aerodays 2020. We will learn about the new ideas that this event will generate, new approaches and even game changes policies that are meant to shape our future. Last year in Bucharest, we hosted a very successful event, and we passed the torch to our German partners that had the difficult task to organize the Aerodays 2020 today, facing all the hardship and the limitations of the pandemic has brought to us. In these challenging months that have frozen our normality in a hiatus, I cannot stress more the importance of research. Whether it be medical, aerospace, or industrial, research in its whole is the path to recovery, to improve our way of living, and to safeguard the future generations. Well-conducted research is vital to the success of the global endeavors. Dire times drive innovation. Research and innovation ensure that Europe continues to feed in key technologies and their use across industrial platforms. Romania also produces world-class science, removes barriers to innovation, and fosters valuable cooperation between the public and private sectors. We are determined to deliver answers to the problems facing society and its future. Last but not least, I would like to reassess our commitment to the European programs that we are partners, and to invite you to be part of the change and part of the solution of this new and unprecedented challenge. From Bucharest to Berlin, I wish you all a successful participation in Berlin Aviation Summit and Aerodays Forum for the next 3 days. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And of course, we're going to see you tomorrow, but of course, also towards the closing minutes of this long afternoon of the 5 hours. Now, I'm very happy to go into a very brief interview with Reiner Winkler. He is BDLI boss, let me say that. And the other boss, my boss here, is Professor Rolf Henke of DLR. They are co-organizers for the event in Berlin. And of course, building back better is something that I always hear in any kind of conference that I've been doing for the last half year. So, Mr. Winkler, why actually have this event in times when we are actually fighting a global pandemic?
Yeah, from my perspective, it is the right point of time for this event to combine two major topics. This is described by the headline, Mastering the Corona Crisis and Enable Climate Neutral Future. Our enterprises, the sector as a whole, and Germany are experiencing difficult times. But investment in the aviation industry and the next generation of aircraft is taking place now. And there's a lot of questions out there which need to be answered. So such as, how does the current crisis affect aviation today and in the future? Which technological innovations will be necessary to produce future aircraft? Will passengers be willing to pay for climate neutral aviation? And how can we increase efficiency in the air traffic management while keeping safety standards as high as possible? The Berlin Aviation Summit is an opportunity to share answers to these questions.
Thank you so much. And by the way, of course, you are not just the boss of BDLI, but you also have a day job as the CEO of MTU. So thank you very much for taking the time. Professor Henke, fantastic to see you here on stage. You must be a brave man, both commuting from Cologne to Berlin and also sort of in the sea 19 times. Now, of course, I was saying there is sort of this underlying question about air traffic. Everybody wants to move, but we know it comes at a cost. So it has become under scrutiny. There are social discussions all around that. What's your take? Why have this aviation summit now? And what can we tell the people that are saying, maybe we should keep it the way that it is at the moment?
Well, very good question. Thank you, and welcome from my side. Well, yes, on the one hand side, of course, as we just heard, we have the COVID-19 and we have to cope with it and we have to suffer. We do suffer and we have to recover. During the recovery and the time afterwards, I think the overarching goal must be sustainability. And that's already the first question. What exactly do we mean by sustainability? So this is something we hopefully will discuss, and I'm sure we will discuss it during the next 3 days here in Berlin and worldwide. The overarching goal being sustainability. I think this is true not only for aviation, but as we have high-tech products and we are an international branch and we are really experienced in international cooperation, we should not only be part of sustainable mobility, we should be the pacemakers. And again, this is something we should agree upon during such an event like today.
We're going to be talking about that pacemaking a little bit later. Mr. Winkler, what surplus benefit do you expect from this summit?
Yeah, first of all, I have slightly to correct you. I'm not the boss of BDLI. I'm the vice president for commercial aviation, but not the boss in total. That's Mr. Henke. Sorry for that. But coming back to your question, I think the event Aviation for the Future is an opportunity to share views of key stakeholders from the air transport and aerospace industry, and also formulate joint expectations and strategies. Regarding the panels, first of all, you said already, I really regret that we only have the possibility to hold this event virtually. But nevertheless, the highest ranking representatives of the whole sector, ranging from aircraft operators, administrative bodies, research establishments, finance to politics and society, and more than 200 participants worldwide, they take part. And therefore, the event in 2020 fulfills the claim to be a global summit. And this seems to be a unique selling proposition.
Thank you.
Beneath my official role here as an executive board member for aviation of BDLI and from my background of MTU Aero Engines, I'm highly interested in sharing viewpoints and thoughts about the future in aviation. MTU is also heavily affected by the crisis, but we are confident that there are various chances for future, which we are willing to use. So please use the opportunities to discuss and network, such as coffee tables and the chat function. And further on, everybody is also invited to send questions to the panels during the runtime of this event.
Okay, this time I didn't want to sort of get into your word. I was waiting for you. Professor Henke, what impulses do you think are going to go out, A, from today, but also from the other 2 days that are coming afterwards?
Well, I think the main impulses should be the agreements that and you cannot agree just by one person or by just one speech. This is a real advantage that we not only have the distinguished speakers of this panel and the next 3 days, but also the audience, the right audience worldwide. And if we really come to a sort of agreement, and for example, do we go for sustainability? Do we go for climate friendliness? Do we go for environment? Do we go for decarbonization? So we must agree on certain topics before we then start really get into action and define the new world of aviation. And this is exactly what such an Berlin Aviation Summit and the Aero Days can go for, have the agreements for the next future.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And of course, we're going to have a variety of issues, a variety of statements, a variety of views in the next 4 hours and 45 minutes.